I still remember the first time she said those words. Soft, almost teasing, the kind of voice that slips under your skin before you even know it's there. It wasn't supposed to mean anything. I was just at my friend Daniel's house, waiting for him to grab his keys when she walked in from the garden, sleeves rolled up, sunlight catching the fine strands of hair near her temple. Elaine, that was her name, but saying it out loud always felt too personal, too close. She wasn't like other women I knew. There was a calm around her, a quiet kind of confidence that made the room slow down. Even when she smiled, there was something guarded behind it, like a thought she never finished sharing. I must have stared longer than I meant to because she looked at me, amused. "You've grown," she said. I laughed, tried to play it off. Guess that happens when you disappear for 3 years. Disappeared? Her brow lifted slightly. You make it sound mysterious. Her tone was light, but her eyes stayed on mine, not in the way adults look at kids they used to know, but like she was studying me. It made my chest tighten. Daniel shouted from upstairs, "I'll be 5 minutes." That left us alone, her standing by the kitchen counter, me pretending to check my phone just to have something to do. She poured herself a glass of water. The sound of it, the slow trickle, the soft clink of ice, filled the silence. Then she said, "You don't talk much, do you?" "I do. Just not when I don't know what to say." "Good answer," she murmured, almost to herself. She took a sip, then walked closer, holding out the glass. "Here, try it. It's mint water. Helps when you're nervous." I wasn't nervous, or maybe I was. Her fingers brushed mine when I took the glass, and that tiny touch sent something sharp and warm through me. I caught the faint scent of her, citrus and something floral, and suddenly the room felt smaller. When she stepped back, she smiled like she caught me thinking.
"Something I shouldn't. You've changed," she said quietly. "Your eyes used to look safer." I didn't know how to answer that. The silence between us stretched again, heavy but not uncomfortable, just full. Outside, the garden wind chimes moved faintly, a small, distant sound that made everything feel too still. She leaned against the counter, her gaze softening. "Do you still draw?" she asked. I blinked. "You remember that?" "I remember a lot of things," she said. Then, after a pause, "You used to draw me once." "By accident, you said." My throat tightened. I didn't think she'd remembered. I had been 17 then, sketching her while she read by the window, sunlight tracing her neck, her shoulder, the fall of her hair. She'd laughed when she caught me, but her cheeks had flushed. Now, standing there again, it felt like the air between us was charged with that same memory. She took a step closer, just enough for her perfume to reach me again. "You're quiet now too," she whispered. "Maybe you're remembering that day." I swallowed, unable to look away. "Maybe." Her lips curved slightly, and for a second, I thought she might say more, but then the sound of footsteps came from upstairs. Daniel's voice again. "You guys ready?" She didn't move right away. Instead, she leaned in just enough that her breath brushed my ear and said, in that low, unhurried voice, "If you stay quiet, I'll show you something later." Then she turned, picking up her glass as if nothing had happened, leaving me standing there, pulse racing, not sure if I'd imagined the whole thing. But when she looked back before leaving the room, the corner of her mouth lifted, just slightly, and I knew I hadn't. The next few days, I told myself it didn't mean anything. She was just being playful. That's what I kept repeating. But every time I thought about her voice, low and certain in my ear, I felt that same flicker of heat I couldn't explain away. Daniel and I had planned to hang out at his house again that weekend. I almost canceled, but curiosity, or maybe something worse, kept me from doing it. When I got there, she was in the living room, barefoot, reading on the couch. The afternoon light hit her skin in soft gold. She looked up when I entered, her face lighting with recognition before she remembered to hide it. "Hi," she said, setting the book down. "Daniel's running late. You can wait here if you don't mind a little company." "I don't mind," I said. Too fast, maybe. She smiled faintly, motioning for me to sit. The sofa dipped as I did, close enough to smell her shampoo, something faintly sweet, like honey and cedar. We talked about nothing at first. the weather, her plants, the new coffee place in town. But underneath it, something else was there, a pulse neither of us mentioned. When she laughed, she touched my arm, light as air. I don't think she even realized she'd done it. But I did. You seem different, she said after a while. Quieter, but steadier somehow. Maybe I grew up, I said, trying to keep my tone even. Maybe. Her gaze softened. Or maybe life just taught you not to say everything you think. There was something in her voice, then a kind of sadness. I wanted to ask about it, but she looked away first, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. You and Daniel have been friends for a long time, she said.
Yeah.
Since middle school. So, you know a lot about this family. I guess so. Then you must know, she said quietly, that his father isn't around much anymore. I nodded. Everyone knew. Rumors of business trips that were really something else. I'd seen her alone plenty of times before, but now, hearing it from her, it landed differently. She caught me watching her. Don't look at me like that, she said softly. I don't want your pity. It's not pity. What is it then? I didn't answer. Maybe I couldn't. The silence stretched again, thick and electric. She looked down at her hands, then at me, almost as if she wanted to apologize, but didn't. Her fingertips brushed against mine on the couch, an accident or maybe not. Neither of us pulled away. For a moment, we just stayed like that, hands barely touching, breath uneven. Then the sound of the front door unlocking broke the spell. Daniel's voice echoed from outside. She pulled her hand back, quickly, almost guilty, and stood. You should tell him you've been waiting, she said, her voice suddenly light again. But as she passed me, she paused just behind my shoulder, close enough that her words came out as a whisper only I could hear. Some things are better left unspoken, at least for now. And just like that, she was gone, leaving the faint scent of her perfume in the air and me wondering what exactly she was trying not to say. It happened on a Thursday, the kind of evening that feels half asleep, when light fades slow and quiet. Daniel had gone out to pick up dinner. I stayed behind, sketching absent-mindedly at the kitchen table, trying to keep my mind on anything but her. Then I heard her voice behind me. You still draw when you think too much, she said softly. I turned. She was standing in the doorway, one hand resting against the frame, wearing an oversized cardigan that slipped slightly off her shoulder. Her hair was loosely tied, a few strands falling near her neck. She looked tired, beautifully so. I didn't hear you come in, I said. You were lost somewhere. Maybe, I admitted. It helps me not to say the wrong thing. Her smile was faint. Sometimes saying nothing hurts just as much. She walked closer, slow enough that each step seemed deliberate. I could feel the air shift, the faint warmth that always seemed to follow her. What are you drawing? She asked. I hesitated. You. Her breath caught, barely audible. May I see? I turned the sketch pad toward her. It wasn't perfect, just her silhouette, the curve of her jaw, her hands mid-gesture. She looked at it a long time. You make me look softer than I am, she said finally. Maybe you are, I said. Or maybe, she whispered, you just want me to be. The room felt too quiet after that. The only sound was the ticking clock and the faint hum of the refrigerator. She was standing close now, so close that when she leaned over to touch the page, her hair brushed my cheek. I froze. Her hand rested lightly on my shoulder, her fingers tracing the edge of my collarbone without meaning to, or maybe she meant it. I couldn't tell anymore. Elaine, I started, but the word came out lower, rougher. She didn't look at me. You shouldn't say my name like that. Like what? Like it means something. We were inches apart now. The faint scent of her skin, citrus and warmth, filled my head. My pulse thudded in my ears. Her eyes lifted to mine, and for a split second, I knew she felt it too. The same impossible pull. And then, the sharp chime of her phone broke through the silence. She flinched, pulling back, her hand still half raised. The screen lit her face with a pale glow. A message. Her husband's name. Neither of us spoke. She locked the phone quickly, set it on the counter, and exhaled, a sound somewhere between relief and regret. "This is dangerous," she whispered. "I know." She turned toward the window, the reflection of both of us shimmering faintly in the glass, close, but not touching. For a long time, neither of us moved. Then she turned back, her voice almost a breath. "Some things start too quietly to stop later." Her hand brushed my wrist again, just once, a fleeting, trembling touch, before she walked past me toward the hall. I didn't follow. But when she paused at the door, she looked back, eyes dark, conflicted, and said, "Lock up when you're done." The door clicked shut, but the space she left behind still felt like she was standing there, too close, saying nothing. It had been days since that night, but silence only made everything worse. Every time I saw her, in passing, in fragments, it felt like a secret I couldn't hold in my chest anymore. Tonight, Daniel had gone out again. She was alone. I told myself I was just returning his jacket, but even I didn't believe that. She opened the door before I could knock twice. "You shouldn't be here," she said, but her voice lacked conviction. "I know," I said quietly. The hallway light flickered between us, soft and unsteady. For a long moment, neither of us moved. Then she stepped aside. Just for a minute. Her living room was dim, only a lamp in the corner casting gold against the walls. She'd been painting, a half-finished canvas on the table, brushes in a glass of murky water. The scent of turpentine mixed with something warmer, familiar, her. "You paint now," I said. "Sometimes," she murmured. "When I can't sleep." I watched her as she adjusted the brush, her fingers trembling slightly. "And lately?"
She met my eyes.
"I don't sleep much at all." The silence after that felt heavy, fragile. She set the brush down, and I noticed the faint smear of paint on her wrist. I reached out without thinking. "You've got." My fingers brushed her skin. She froze. It should have been nothing. A quick gesture, a polite laugh. But she didn't move her hand away. Her pulse fluttered under my thumb, and for a second, the world narrowed to just that single point of contact. Her breath trembled. "You make things complicated." "Maybe they already were," I said. She looked up then, really looked, and something gave way in her eyes. Not surrender, not permission, something raw. "I can't stop thinking about that night," she said, almost too softly to hear. "I can't either." She took a step closer. My back brushed the edge of the table, the canvas wobbling slightly behind me. She reached up, her hand hesitating before it found the side of my face. Her thumb traced my jaw, slow, unsteady. "You don't understand," she whispered. "If anyone, I don't care." Her eyes searched mine, wide, uncertain, wanting. The distance between us dissolved, breath to breath, heartbeat to heartbeat. Then she said it, the words that tipped everything over the edge. "Tell me this isn't wrong." I opened my mouth, but nothing came out. I didn't have an answer she could live with. Her hand slid into my hair, fingers tightening. I could feel her shaking, her chest rising against mine. Every breath she took seemed to pull me closer. "Elaine, don't," she whispered, but she didn't move away. Her lips were inches from mine, close enough that I could feel the warmth of her breath, the slightest tremor of hesitation between us. And then, a car door slammed outside. Headlights swept through the window, slicing across the room. She stepped back fast, almost stumbling, one hand pressed to her lips. "He's home," she whispered. I turned toward the window, heart hammering, the taste of her still hanging in the air. That unfinished second between wanting and losing it all. The next morning, everything felt too bright, like the sun was accusing us of something. I told myself I wouldn't go back there. That what almost happened was a mistake caught in bad timing and worse judgment. But the truth was I couldn't stay away. When I showed up at Daniel's place later that week, he wasn't home. She opened the door, surprise flashing across her face before it softened into something else. Relief, maybe. Or fear. "I didn't think I'd see you," she said quietly. "Neither did I." She stepped aside, but this time there was no hesitation. The air inside carried that same faint warmth, like the house itself was holding its breath. Daniel's gone to the city, she said. He'll be back late. Her voice faltered slightly at the end, as though she realized what that meant the same moment I did. I shouldn't have come, I said. Then why did you? I didn't answer. I just looked at her, and she knew. We stood there, a heartbeat too close. Then she turned toward the kitchen, needing space between us. You make me forget what I promised myself, she said under her breath. What promise? That I wouldn't need anyone again. The words hit harder than I expected. I followed her in, my voice quieter now. He hurt you. She didn't deny it. She just said, he stopped seeing me long before he left. She leaned against the counter, one hand gripping the edge. You don't understand what it's like to be invisible in your own house. I did, more than she realized, that hollow quiet when you're surrounded by people, but no one really looks at you. That's what had drawn me to her from the start. She saw me and I saw her back. Before I could speak, a faint vibration came from the counter, her phone. She glanced at it, then froze. It wasn't her husband this time. It was Daniel. Daniel. Mom, are you home? I forgot my keys. I'll be there in 10. The silence that followed felt suffocating. Her hand trembled as she set the phone down. You have to go. Her hand trembled as she set the phone down. You have to go, she whispered. I can't, I said. Not like this. She turned to face me, fear and something raw fighting behind her eyes. If he sees you here, then what? I stepped closer. You'll pretend again? Act like none of this ever happened. She swallowed hard, tears threatening. Don't do this. I can't keep pretending I don't want you. That broke her. She reached up, her palm pressing against my chest, but it wasn't to push me away. It was to steady herself. Her fingers curled in the fabric of my shirt. Her breath caught like she wanted to say something and couldn't. I shouldn't feel this, she said. But you do. Her eyes met mine, wide, desperate, alive. Then, in a whisper that barely reached me, she said, if you stay, everything changes. Outside, the sound of a car door slammed again, Daniel's voice faint in the distance.
Her hand slipped from my chest.
We both froze, hearts pounding, trapped between guilt and gravity. She looked at me once more, trembling.
Choose, she said. Now.
The moment stretched, too long, too loud inside my chest. Daniel's footsteps echoed faintly outside the door. Every second felt stolen. Every breath we took could give us away. She stood frozen in the middle of the room, hand still half raised as if deciding whether to reach for me or push me away. Her lips parted, her pulse visible at her throat. Go, she whispered. But she didn't move. Neither did I. Elaine, my voice came out low, rough. If I leave now, you'll pretend this never happened. Her eyes flashed, not anger, not yet. Something between fear and wanting. That's the point, she said, but her voice broke halfway through. I took a step closer. The distance between us vanished. My hand brushed against hers, a soft, trembling contact that made her exhale sharply. Don't, she said again, but it sounded like a plea, not a warning. You asked me to stay quiet, I said, voice shaking. But I can't anymore. Her eyes lifted to mine, and for a heartbeat, the room went still. No sound, no thought, just the space between us burning slow and dangerous. I've spent years doing what's right, she whispered. Being careful, measured. And now you. I didn't plan this, I said. But I can't stop it either. She stepped back, bumping into the table. The edge of the canvas brushed her arm, leaving a streak of paint near her wrist. I reached out to wipe it, a useless, gentle gesture, but she caught my hand midair. Our fingers tangled. Neither of us let go. You're just a boy, she said, her voice barely holding together. Then why are you shaking? That undid her. She closed her eyes for a moment, the kind of pause that carries years of exhaustion and one all at once. When she opened them again, something had changed, not softer, but resolved. She moved closer until I could feel her breath against my neck. This is the part, she whispered, where we either make the same mistake twice or stop pretending it isn't one.